Mm, You won't break my soul. You won't break my soul. You won't break my soul. Today's podcast is going to be about you not breaking my soul. Okay. That's going to be the theme of this podcast, man. I hope you all had a great 4th of July weekend, whether you celebrate it or not. That's between you and your family and your loved ones. But I hope you enjoyed your time off. If you were fortunate enough to have time off, I had time off, and I had a great time. I went up to Charleston and had a good time with some friends. Um, we ate good. We drank even better, and we had an even better time together. But y'all won't break my soul. I promise you won't. See, the one thing I like about traveling is when I be traveling, I don't be on my phone. I'll be taking in none of y'all's nonsense on the socials. I don't really be reading none of my group text for real, for real. I be in the moment. And sometimes I forget about the importance of being in the moment and being around people that you like, being around people that you love, making sure that you have a good conversation. That's fine, Austin. Tell everybody whatever it is you want to tell them, but you won't break my soul. Um, but no, we enjoy. See, this is why I don't entertain comments because I get distracted. But the importance of being around the people that you love is having conversations and talking. Because when you don't talk to people, you don't really know how they feel. And that sounds like some simple common sense, but common sense is an uncommon virtue. And so with that, I tell you all, if you think Independence Day is a holiday, then celebrate.
We ballin', big baby.
Then turn up. Have a great time doing what it is that you choose to do. Because now I'm starting to see this narrative, especially in Black America. Why y'all celebrate the 4th of July? That ain't no holiday. We wasn't free. Well, you're right, we weren't. But I mean, you ain't gonna just go to work, are you? Y'all just don't pull up on Christmas just because it's Christmas, do you? Nah, because your boss gave you the day off. You don't pull up on New Year's if you ain't going out getting drunk or going to watch night service, right? Same. You don't go up to a Jewish person's face and go, "Why you celebrating Hanukkah?" Or you go up to somebody who decides to celebrate Kwanzaa. "Why are you celebrating Kwanzaa? You are not supposed to be celebrating Kwanzaa. We don't celebrate that." Well, I do. I ain't you. It's crazy. I don't have to celebrate the things that you celebrate. I don't have to be interested in the things that you are interested in. I'm myself. I can do whatever it is I want to do. Sorry, Austin. I don't commit these songs to memory, but you won't break my soul. I can do what I want. I can. And I get it. If you're a Black American and you don't want to celebrate the 4th of July because you say we are celebrating American independence, but I was not made to be independent on this day, got no argument for me. But if you do embrace being an American and you understand that this country has flaws and you want to believe that it's getting better for people who are not white men, if you want to believe that or think that it has the capability of doing that, then you decide you want to celebrate the 4th of July, Independence Day, because you are proud to be an American, do it. Have at it. Have a great time doing it. No sweat off my back. Not none. The only sweat that's coming off my back is this sweat because I'm wearing this hot sweatshirt. Forgiveness. Shout out to the Forgiveness family, the Niblets in this hot room. But that's neither here nor there. Celebrate what you want. Enjoy what you want. I was talking to a friend about a conversation that he was having with some people who, are different from him culturally. And he was explaining, like, yeah, man, Black culture, we don't really celebrate the 4th of July. Like, it's just a day off. We're going to barbecue, we're going to play some spades, we're going to drink, we're going to fire some fireworks. But there's not really any time given to, like, what are we doing here? Sometimes, I mean, I even look at Thanksgiving and people be like, we got to boycott Thanksgiving because, this and that. For me, it's not about whatever Thanksgiving came from. It's just like the N word. It ain't about what some people want to make it. It's that we made it our own and we made it work for us in a way that works for us. Same with a lot of these American holidays, especially these pro-American holidays. It's not about celebrating what the holiday is. Like, ain't nobody worried about labor on Labor Day. A lot of people aren't worried about the people who died on Memorial Day. We're not celebrating American independence on the 4th of July. And we're not celebrating a meeting of white folks and Native Americans on Thanksgiving. It's about family and loved ones and friends being together. It's about good drink, good talking, good spades, good line, all that good stuff that you like to do with the people that you love. That's how we view these holidays. But in the conversation that my friend was having, he was like confused. What? How do you not celebrate America? I, I was like, dang, bro. How could you? In my mind, I'm like, how could you not, even give that a thought? And then I take a step back. You know what? We've got to talk more. Y'all ain't gonna break my soul, but we've got to talk more because when you have conversations, you understand people's perspective. And you stop taking people's perspective for granted. You stop thinking that everybody thinks the way that you think and has the mindset that you have. You realize that somebody who you could be super cool with, super close to, y'all are on different sides of the spectrum on an issue that you just assumed that they could understand where you were coming from. You may not have expected that person to have your same point of view, but you'll be like, oh yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, then it's like, oh, ooh, you didn't know I had this perspective. You weren't even aware of this perspective. But then when you think about it, I mean, America's a great place. I love this country. Don't plan on leaving permanently, maybe for long leaves of absence, but plan to always maintain residence here. But it's not been as good to me as it's been to other people. And that's okay. So for those people who America's been great to, I don't even care what your demographic is. Just country's been great to you, if it's giving you everything that you've wanted and what you've needed out of a nation, then you celebrate its independence. You celebrate the day that this country decided to stand on what it is. A country that is free from tyrannical a government, a country that is built upon the beliefs of the people, a country that gives people the opportunity to advance, a country that's built without a nobility. We don't have a king and a queen. That doesn't exist here. Now there are some people who are treated like royalty, but nonetheless, in on paper, we don't have a royal family. So if you choose to celebrate that, then celebrate that. And if you don't want to celebrate it, then don't. Here's what you do: go to work on your day off. Or just stay home and do whatever it is that you choose to do, but do whatever makes you happy. I don't think this should be a divisive topic. I don't think this should be a controversial issue. Yes, I capitalized off of selling shirts because, again, my people were not set free on the 4th of July. And I stand on that. But at the same time, the country that I live in was set free from another country or began the process of being set free on the 4th of July. So I still accept that like as an American victory, you know? It may not be, you know, track meet, right? A track meet is many races. It's not just one race. And each victory that you gain in that track meet helps you win the track meet. And Independence Day, July 4th, 1776, was one of the races that was won that was necessary for America to try to win this track meet. And I'm okay with people celebrating that. And I'm okay with others saying, you know what? I'm not even running on this track. So it's not me. I'm not celebrating. I'm not going to celebrate the small victories. I'm going to celebrate the win. I'm not going to celebrate winning battles. I'm not going to celebrate until we win the war. And that's okay. But what do I know? I'm just a big baby. And I'm back.
We ballin', big baby.
But y'all won't break my soul. Y'all are not going to break my soul, but it looks like they have finally broken R. Kelly's soul. And honestly, I don't know how long I'm going to go with this topic, but I wanted to put it at the top of the show because I think it's something important to hit. R. Kelly finally left an example that's important to follow. Excuse me. R. Kelly finally left an example to follow. Seems like you're ready. My mind's telling me no, my body's telling me yes. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It seems like she's ready. She wasn't. Your mind's telling you no for a good reason. We can't bump and grind no more. We can't have a little siesta before we go to the fiesta. If she move her body like a snake, Pa, you better run. You can't do none of that. You can't step to the left, step to the right no more. I mean, actually, you can if you want to start R. Kelly's music. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. And I'm one of those people that if I feel like listening to his music, I listen to his music. I separate art from artists. But by no means do I condone the lifestyle that R. Kelly has lived. But he finally left an example for us to follow. It wasn't his choice. It was forced on him. But I think that this should be the new precedent moving forward. So R. Kelly got sentenced to 30 years in prison. I do believe he's 55 years old. Put him at 85. But before he's able to assimilate back into society, he has to receive some treatment for his sexual behavior to try to turn him away from being a sexual predator and a person who contributes to a society in his mid 80s. Now, will he make it to that point? I don't know. That's not for me to say. I'm not God. But do I think that there needs to be treatment for people before they come back to society? Absolutely. Do I think that people need to not people. Do I think that convicts need to be punished while also being repaired and being and receiving, some types of avenues towards healing and improvement before they come back to society? Absolutely. So this is why I say R. Kelly finally left an example to follow, because I think that any judge who sentences someone to prison, sentences a repeat offender, should have to follow the same model. And maybe we get to a place that it doesn't follow the sentence, but it accompanies the sentence. And then maybe we get to a place to where we look at our prisons, we look at our jails and say, nothing about this dynamic prepares these people to come back to assimilate into our society. So then maybe we take a step and we look at that and we make prisons and jails places of punishment, absolutely. But places that don't turn first-time offenders, soft criminals, young people who may have made mistakes into hardened criminals who end up living a life of crime after they get out because they actually regressed while being behind bars. But let's go back to what we're doing for R. Kelly here. And not what we're doing for R. Kelly, but what we're doing for society. if we value the members of society, all of our members of society, as contributing members of society, we would think that when they make a mistake and they decide to find themselves behind bars, we would try to make them a better person. That only makes sense to me. Unless you have privatized prisons, which means you got to keep people in them and this, that, and the third. But we've got to take a different look at crime and criminal justice reform, and we got to stop exiling our criminals totally. Now, if you mess up, you make a mistake, get them away from here, get them off the street, because obviously you're not leading a life that is one that contributes to society. You're taking away from society. You're placing people at harm outside of yourself. Get out of here. But now let's work on fixing you. Let's punish you and let's fix you. And I think we need to put more emphasis on fixing people and improving people than punishing them. Because if you just think about it with a child. If all you do is punish your child, but you never explain to them why they're wrong and what they did wrong and how they can improve, are they actually going to do it? No, you're just going to keep whooping them. You're going to keep putting them in the corner. You're going to keep taking an iPad, whatever it is that parents do to punish their children in their houses. But you don't actually help that child develop into a independent individual, one who can think for themselves, one who can make decisions for themselves, one who can be responsible for others, if you don't teach them their mistakes. I mean, same thing on the job. You can get written up for messing up every time, but if you're not properly trained, and if your write up doesn't identify your deficiency and provide steps towards improvement, then what are we doing here? Same should be said for criminals, and one thing is, though, you got to get buy-in from all parties involved when it comes to criminal justice. Getting true criminal justice takes all parties involved. You got to have the lawmakers on the same page as the law enforcement, who are also on the same page as the citizens in that given municipality, okay? Because if all three are on the same page, for one, you're going to have less crime. And then when you do have crime, the crime is going to be properly stopped. I just had a brain fart. Your crime is going to be properly, stopped. You're going to have proper confrontation, and then you're going to have proper punishment. And then hopefully you have proper reformation on the back end of that. That's what we're shooting for. But it's getting scary. It's getting scary because 84 DAs and prosecutors covering 29 states and territories with jurisdiction over roughly 87 million people have said that they are not going to prosecute abortion. And if we put this in a window, I say, you know what? I stand with you all, because abortion should not be a crime. And Congress can fix that whenever they decide to, okay? Just throwing that out there. Congress can fix that. If Congress doesn't want abortion to be a crime in their state, if they don't want abortion to be a crime in their country, they can fix that. Do not let Maxine Waters just tell you that it's just the Supreme Court, okay? Congress can fix it. But anyways, back to our topic. With this number of defense attorneys standing up against ratified laws in their state, that scares me. It does not scare me because of the law that they're choosing not to enforce, because, people say an unjust law isn't a law, or, a threat to justice anywhere. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Yes. But what happens when the bad actors take that same approach? What happens when you have a law that's granting rights, granting opportunities to those who need and deserve those opportunities and are entitled to those opportunities? But the defense attorneys, the DA, they go, we're not prosecuting. And what happens if the police are on board and they say, we're not even arresting? So we're not even going to inconvenience you for breaking this law. What happens? So I love the stand against abortion. Excuse me. I love the stand against anti-abortion law. But is this the way? Is there a better way to get the point across to ensure that we don't slide down a slippery slope? Because like I said at the beginning of this topic, you gotta have your lawmakers, your law enforcement, and your citizens on the same page. It takes all parts. You need the laws created by the lawmakers to reflect the attitudes of those in that municipality, in that jurisdiction, right? Every person doesn't have to agree with every law, but nonetheless, those laws should reflect the values accepted by those people. And if you're one who is enforcing the law as a police officer, you need to ensure that you're aligned with those laws that you're supposed to enforce, because let's be honest, we're human beings. If you are tasked to enforce laws that you don't necessarily agree with, you might turn a blind eye to some things. And that's not great for a society. Or imagine if the police are arresting people, sheriffs are arresting people, but the DA is not charging them. Like, what? Excuse me? We're not even allowing this to go to trial. Why should I do my job? What am I getting paid for? You don't value me. And you can just, vice versa. If the cops aren't enforcing the laws that the lawmakers are making, that the DA wants to prosecute, then it's like, hey, what am I the DA for? What are we writing these laws for? Hey, police, be held accountable. Do your job. So I'm not against laws that are going to make abortion safe and legal for women around the country. Absolutely not. I support that 100%. But I am against rogue defense attorneys deciding which laws they want to prosecute. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only instance of it, because I'm not an idiot. I know that it happens. I mean, hell, it happened in San Francisco. They did like a special election. They got that DA out of there because the DA wasn't trying criminals. The cops were like, what the hell are we doing this for? And the people were like, hey, we don't feel safe. And crime went up out the yin yang in San Francisco because of that. But just what the hell happens when some more of these civil rights laws that some of these countries, some of these states, some of these counties want to roll back, and they start rolling them back just because the cops aren't enforcing it, the DAs aren't prosecuting it? Then what? What happens then? It ain't no fun when the rabbits got the gun. And I'm not saying, hey, liberal side of the house, play safe and always do the nice and right thing, because the other side of the house is going to play dirty. But understand that who your enemy is. And it should not be your enemy. They should just be the person who you disagree with differently. But the way y'all do business is like y'all are enemies. Y'all don't really work together for too much of anything but money. You don't work together for the people. So what happens when that flips on your face? Are you prepared to take the next steps to support the people? Are you going to educate the people enough to actually know, so they actually know what's going on here? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. But when there are laws that are deemed constitutional, which makes them legal, They're laws. They're voted on by the lawmaking body and signed off by the executive body. They should be enforced, right? That's my question. Like they should be enforced, shouldn't they? Because where do we stop? And maybe I'm just catastrophizing this whole thing. I'm not gonna lie to you, it scares me. It scares me when it becomes a law that may affect me. It scares me when it becomes a law that you know. Ooh, and maybe this is my blindness to this topic that I feel this way. Maybe because it hasn't been a law that directly affects me, or I'm like, nah, we ain't enforcing that. But I doubt it. Because usually my approach is, oh, it's a bad law. Okay, let's get new ones. And I've said on this podcast, for those of you who don't like laws and y'all want to go out there and protest, go protest. I'm all about protesting. And I said sometimes it takes people to go over the line. That line that it takes people, I said it takes people to go over. I'm not one of the people who goes over that line. I try to work within the confines. I try to work within the parameters of what it is that we're trying to in the system that we're using. I'm telling y'all won't break my soul. And sometimes when you step outside, your soul might get broke, but there are those of you who are gonna step outside, and we need those people. I just want y'all to know it ain't gonna be me. And don't break my soul because I'm not that. Whew, is raw sex worth it in 2022? If you can pull out, yeah, that's fine. If y'all married, yeah, it's just fine. If you live in California, yeah, it's just fine. Or if you want to have some sexual responsibility, it's absolutely fine. I saw this post and some other podcast took the topic. I don't know the direction that they went in. Don't really care what direction they went in, but I wanted to talk about it. Is raw sex worth it in 2022? Yeah, absolutely. I'm married, so what am I worried about here? And if we're being honest, prior to being married, I did dabble around, but it was not something that I did on a regular. Why? Because I understood the consequences that came with it. I understood that there's diseases. I understood that there's the possibility of children. And I just never wanted to be tied to somebody longer than I wanted to be tied to them. So I made decisions that would, for the most part, ensure that I could break ties from people when I was ready, like eject button, I'm gone. But if you got a kid, it ain't no eject. I mean, you can eject, but that wouldn't be the right thing to do, and it can come back to bite you. Not come back to bite you. You could have to pay child support, or God forbid you get burned, and now you got to go to the clinic, or even worse, you get something that you can't get rid of. This whole well, we don't have abortion anymore, so should we have raw sex? You probably shouldn't, honestly. As I mature and live life more and see different things, I see why they said sex is for marriage. Because just imagine if we all waited until marriage. Well, I don't know if it's gonna be good or not. Yeah, you'll figure it out. You probably like your first beer or your first taste of wine or your first drink of liquor straight, but eventually you found what suited your palate, and that came with experience. But with that experience, the more diverse your palate becomes, the more comparisons you can make, the more opportunities that you open yourself up for harm, the more opportunities you open yourself up for mistakes, right? Same thing with sex. Maybe we talk about sex is meant for two people who are in love. Because not only are you opening yourselves up for disease, are you opening yourself up for unwanted pregnancy, unwanted child that in some states you can't get rid of now after 6 weeks. You're opening yourself up for unwanted feelings and vulnerability with somebody who probably doesn't deserve that to you from you. Now, don't call me a hypocrite because I'm over here theorizing and saying what maybe that does make sense, but did I apply it? No, 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 I did not. But y'all won't break my soul because part of growing is learning, and part of growing and learning is taking your experiences and trying to make life better for the next organization or the next generation. And this whole over sexualization of society, I'm gonna sit here and tell you I enjoy it, but it ain't good. You know, crackheads enjoy crack, meth heads enjoy meth. That don't make it good. Drunks enjoy liquor. Too much of it ain't good. Gamblers enjoy gambling until they broke. Hanging from their ankles. Head getting dropped in the Hudson. You understand? Like, just because something is good doesn't mean it's what you need all the time. You need some balance. And maybe we need some sexual balance, some sexual responsibility. Is raw sex worth it in 2022? Yeah, it's worth it if you can handle it. If you can do it properly. If you're doing it with somebody who you're willing to accept anything that comes with that, absolutely, it's worth it. If you're willing to accept the responsibilities of what happened, no matter whether or not you want to be with that person or for the rest of your life, or you're willing to accept the responsibility for a child or a disease that you get, have at it. Feels great. But if you're not, it's not worth it. I don't ever think abortion should be a default. I don't think Plan B should be a default. I don't think the IUD should be a default. I think it should be your backup, your tertiary. You know, maybe it's okay. We're not gonna have sex. Probably not gonna happen. Okay, we're gonna wear a condom. Oh, I'm drunk. Where I need to take it off. Okay, I'm gonna pull out. You on the pill? Okay, I'm gonna try to pull out, but I may not pull out. But maybe we'll see. All right. Oh dang, you pregnant? Do you want to have it? Do you want to do this? Yes. Okay, let's do it. No. Let's get to Planned Parenthood. You see how many different steps I went through right there? I'm just saying that's a thought. So when you want to know is raw sex worth it? If your pull-out game is strong, then absolutely have at it. Let me tell you why y'all won't break my soul. And I'm afraid to even put this out here on wax about y'all not breaking my soul. But sometimes I think Beyonce is as clueless as her beehive. And I know that it is against the rules, it's against the law, it's against everything in society to speak out against Beyonce. And I love Beyonce. I love her music. I can't wait for her to tour this new album. Because I plan on going because I haven't seen Beyonce in person, and you know what? She deserves to have me grace one of her concerts. But y'all won't break my soul. So she talked about her album. She put out her album cover, and it kind of didn't sit right with me. Creating this album allowed me a place to dream and to find escape during a scary time for the world. It allowed me to feel free and adventurous in a time when little else was moving. My intention was to create a safe place, a place without judgment, a place to be free of perfectionism and overthinking, a place to scream, release, feel freedom. It was a beautiful journey of exploration. I hope you find joy in this music. I hope it inspires you to release the wiggle. Ha! And to feel as unique, strong, and sexy as you are. For one, all of them ain't sexy. So, we joking, not really. But what I think she was trying to say here is great. Like, you know what? I know you people will like hang on to my every word and everything that I do. So here's what I want you to do. I want you not to worry and be happy. I want you to be young and wild and free. I want you to go to a place of no judgment. I want you to just be your best self, living your best life while you listen to my music and put money in my pockets. Absolutely. You got to do all that while in the process. Sure. But Beyonce, I'm sorry. I don't want to hear you talk about creating a safe space in a time with so much confusion and so much going on when you're in your plush billionaire mansion. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that your heart's not in the right place. I'm just telling you when there's people losing their jobs, when there's people losing their houses, we're now we go from pandemic to recession, inflation's out the yin yang. I don't want to hear from you. Hey, spend your money on B so you can feel better. What about some tools for empowerment? What about some tools for freedom? You know, people like Beyonce who have these big voices and these large platforms, and they understand it and they know what their fans want, but I don't think they give their fans what they need. Because when you talk about a safe space free from judgment, so you can be the what she say? So you can feel as unique, strong, and sexy as you are. But what if you don't feel that way? What if you're not those things? What about, hey, here's your reality. It's in your best interest to embrace it and learn how to operate in it. And maybe I'm just being too serious on this topic, right? Maybe she's just saying, hey, it's just about an hour escape from your life sucking. Because my life is great. Your life sucks. So, like, hey, forget how bad your life sucks and come into my world so you can feel it a little bit. Maybe that's what she's going for. And if that's what she's going for, then cool. But just like the first read, the second read, the third read, don't tell me creating this album allowed me a place to dream and to find escape during a scary time for the world. Man, how scary was it for you? You have access to any and every resource that you need to keep your life intact, to keep the life of your loved ones intact. And I think it's so dismissive of the struggles, for one, just to think that music's gonna do that damn much. Music is just like liquor. It make you feel good in a moment, then you wake up in the morning and the problems still exist. But y'all won't break my soul. Mm-mm. No, ma'am, y'all will not break my soul. Because we've got to stop hanging on the words of our celebrities, because the biggest ones are too far away. They're too far away. They're too far removed. They don't understand. And sometimes I think they're propped up to create these narratives, um so that it keeps us on this rat wheel, so you know what I mean, so it just feeds into what the powers that be may want. That's back to my black perception conspiracy theory. Because when she's talking about, get free from jobs and all that stuff, I don't like that. Look here, let me tell you something. I don't care how bad work is. I don't care how bad it tears you down. If you can't pay your bills, you need to keep that job until you find another source of income. You need to keep that job. And I've been somebody who's gone to a job that I didn't like, but I like what I made. I've been someone who's sacrificed short term for long term. Yeah, that's part of it. I think too often we get caught up in this land of let me find bliss, let me find happiness. Well, no, what about finding stability? What about finding discipline? Beyonce ain't telling y'all what she did to get to where she is. Because now she's found freedom from music. She ain't got to record another a track again. She could put out an album of her. Y'all still buy it at this point. She's not the active artist that she once was. Why? Because she put in so much work to become great. She had the right breaks happen. You know, she aligned herself with the right people, and now she's in a place to where yeah, she's free from everything. Honestly, Beyonce doesn't have to do anything that she doesn't not want to do outside of pay the IRS at the end of every year. Besides that, she's free. But if you're not enlightening us, if you're not enlightening your beehive on the full context, then you're doing them a disservice. They deserve better. They deserve a better leader. But that's the thing. The sheep follow the shepherd. Whether he's good, he or she is good or bad, the sheep gonna follow the shepherd. Because they don't know no better. On to Chelsea Handler. I think Miss Chelsea Handler needs to get a better handle on the English language. Because, you know, she's out here talking and she's shitting on men, which if that's what she wants to do, have at it, Chelsea. Who am I to tell you no? But I think that in her attempt to right the wrongs of this misogynistic culture, I think she's hurting herself more than she's helping herself. But I'm a black man, so don't ever ask me to try to understand what goes on in a white woman's head because I can't. I can't. I'm trying here. You know, I'm taking the comments. You know, I'm taking some monologues I heard from Jimmy Kimmel's show, and I'm trying to like formulate it into to some coherent thoughts that I have on it. But what? Here we go. Chelsea Handler is determined to make her return to late night TV following her week-long hosting gig on ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live. In a chat with Variety, the 47-year-old who previously fronted Chelsea Lately on E! And Netflix short-lived Chelsea admitted that she's keen on hosting her own show again because she has some very strong and loud opinions to share. Hey, I support that. You go share your strong, loud opinions wherever they want to be heard. Especially during a time like this, it's nice for a lot of people to have a female voice out there, which I totally agree. The New Jersey native expressed. During her monologue on Kimmel, Chelsea touched on a handful of serious matters, including the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade and, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell and R. Kelly's prison sentencing. It's so important to be represented and to be representing women and to remind people why it's so important to be loud and to be strong and to be I don't know about it. Indefatigable. Wow, I can't pronounce that word. I apologize. So, there's really nobody that can experience what it's like to be a woman other than one of us. So having everybody else's comment on that, white men's opinions are pretty irrelevant. Okay, you know what? I'm sick and tired of living in a society where people who do not come from that background, who have not lived that experience, can't have an opinion on someone from that experience. They can be wrong, but they deserve to talk about it. I come on here and talk about the media and how they don't understand a lot of black culture and they get it wrong. But guess what? They deserve to put their perspective out there because their perspective is an actual valid perspective. And see, if we start silencing perspectives, we're not going to get to the meeting point that we need to get to where people start to find happiness in their roles that they have here in society. So for one, to say that white men's opinions are irrelevant. That's just not true. Now, granted, the headline is more salacious than the actual quote itself, which we know that's what happens. But that's just not true. And to try to paint it as true just does an injustice, because you take those comments and you take some of the stuff that she said, like she talked about some different species of animals who have become asexual, and she was like, "Men, we can get rid of you." Come on, man. You talk about your one night stands two lines ago. So you really want to get rid of men? I mean, I get you don't want to have kids, but you still want to get your head knocked off, don't you? And I mean, by head knocked off, is sexual, not like getting beat up. No, I don't support men beating up women. I don't support violence. But you trying to have sex, right? You trying to get yeah. You want that? All right, then you need some men because yeah, you have sex to nut. You don't have sex to give birth. So yeah, you need a man to do that. Okay, and I was talking to the wife, right? I go, you listen to some of those things she said. If you came home echoing those same things, what is the conversation like at home? Is that a conversation that makes men want to listen to what you have to say and then go, wow, I need to rethink my values so that I can be more understanding and more encompassing of yours? She was like, probably not. I go, exactly. It's like when you tell me that you get all these unwanted advances from men, and it sucks when you have to go places, especially by yourself. And I received it. I didn't realize it was as bad as it was, but then you made it like very clear to me. And I go, oh wow. And she pointed out examples. And I go, oh, that makes sense. But I was like, if you would have been like, hey, you need to treat me better because there's so many men out here that want me, and you should be happy that I chose you. Whoa, baby. I'm not going to receive that you get unwanted advances all the time that same way. And maybe what Chelsea Handler was doing was for the internet. Maybe what she was doing was for TV. Maybe she was doing what she was doing so people like me would come out here and talk about it. But if she's actually trying to advance the conversation, I think she's going about it the wrong way. And I'm not one to come on here and just defend white men. But telling somebody that their opinion is irrelevant when you're talking about a societal issue that's not a niche issue, I'm talking about like a societal issue, is just wrong. Because even if their opinion is wrong, if their perspective is wrong, you can call it wrong. Call it wrong all day, but don't call it irrelevant, because it is relevant because that means it exists. And if it exists, you need to understand that it exists. So when you're trying to advance where you're going, you know where the people who think different from you land. That's like me saying, hey, you racist son of a bitch, your opinion is irrelevant. No, it's not. It's very relevant if I am trying to get this person to change the way that he or she believes so that I can get equal rights. So I think Chelsea Handler needs to get a better handle of the English language and use her words properly. She could say, I don't accept the opinions of white men when speaking on women's issues. I go, got it. I think we need more women to speak on our own issues so that we can properly contextualize what women need. Got it. But if you can't look at yourself and you can't look at other women and say, you know what? We as women don't have the same beliefs. And there are some women, and she talked about them a little bit, how she can stand women who are like anti-woman. Well, you don't get to create the standard for what a woman is. I am so sick and tired of people trying to create a standard of what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a man, what it is to be black. And let me stop. I mean, culturally. I mean, like, if you are a woman, you're a woman, okay? But another woman can't tell you you are more or less of a woman because of how you think and how you act. Just like I can't tell somebody that they're more or less black from what they think or what they act. Now I could tell them that their actions are not in line with what I deem best for black culture, but I can't tell them that they aren't black if they meet the qualities of being black. And if we're going to be more specific, let's talk about black American, right? I can't tell somebody who is a African descendant of slaves born in America, hey, bro, you don't get just because you like this and that, you're not black American. No, you are. Different perspective, different point of view, but you're still a black American. And I can't even tell somebody who's not an African descendant of slaves, somebody who may be first or second generation over here, who has my same skin color, that, hey, you ain't black. I can't tell them that. I want to. Not because I don't accept them for who they are. It's just that, hey, we have different cultures. We come from something different. You know, we have the same skin color, but we don't have the same lived experience. And I think that's important. I do. But Chelsea, use your words better. If you're fighting for equality for all women in this country and all people who are marginalized in this country, I can get behind you. But if you are one of those supremacists who's masquerading as an equalist, you can go right there with the rest of the oppressors.
We ballin', big baby.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
So, Wayne, shout out to Wayne. He sent his interesting post. I think he sent it to the group about it being an interesting topic of discussion. And we're talking about kids who grew up academically gifted. So, no DJ though. Kids who grew up academically gifted are now anxious adults who have thousands of abandoned hobbies and spiral into self-hate whenever they make basic mistakes or they're doctors. You're going somewhere with this one. You're going in a place that where kids who were forced to be academics, make good grades, care about those stuff, they're afraid to make mistakes. I'm one of those kids. I'm afraid to make mistakes. I am risk adverse, for better or for worse, but I'm risk adverse. I still live a pretty good life, but I don't take a lot of risk, especially when it comes to affecting the money that I make. Why? Because I like the money that I make, and I could make decisions that could make me more money, but I could also make decisions that will make me less money. So yeah, here we are. I'm not a doctor. I don't really like the abandoned hobbies thing because I'm on a podcast right now that pays me absolutely nothing. I don't think this is an abandoned hobby. I've been doing it for 5 years, so I'm pretty sure that speaks to, hey, I got out of the bubble of being afraid to do something, abandoning different hobbies and finding the one that actually works for me. Because this whole idea of having abandoned hobbies is you grow out of a lot of the things you once did. When I was a child, I did childish things, but when I became grown, I put down my childish things. I did man stuff. So I think that's a thing too. I also hoop. I play intramural sports, so I've maintained a lot of my hobbies. But I do think there are things that I thought about doing, dabbling in. Hell, I thought about media and broadcasting. It's kind of one of five things that I've wanted to do with my life. But I think that because of the academic nature to my upbringing, I was afraid to go out and take a step. And even still now, I've been afraid to just go out and say, hey, I'm going to broadcast 100% all the time. No, I'm not. It ain't making the right dollars. So it don't make sense to me. And maybe that's the security of that academia has given me, because you're tough, you make good grades, you set yourself up to go and make good money. So once you start making good money because of the good grades that you've made, ta-da, you find yourself here. But I do believe that there are those who were just as brilliant, just as gifted, but they may not make the same grades. They've taken more risk. They're not afraid to be broke. They're not afraid to be homeless. They're not afraid to go stay on someone's house because they weren't afraid to get made fun of for making a C on a test or failing a test or having to retake a class. They weren't afraid of those things. Sometimes the fear that drives you to greatness can drive you to failure. And at some point, you got to find that happy balance. And man, this topic was so triggering because, as you know, I'm getting to an age where I'm wanting to, expand my family. How do I raise my child? Well, academia is going to be important. I mean, because it opens so many doors. But will it be the only thing? Hell no. Luckily for me, academia wasn't the only thing that was offered to me. It wasn't the only thing that my only interest. It's not the only field that I was thrust into. And I think that's super important. But I will say that it was the only field that success and that field was demanded. Mom didn't care how good I was at sports. She let me play. She cared about how good my grades were. I could have a terrible game. I could have a terrible season. Nothing in the house changed. But if I had a bad report card, so in parenting, I hope to be able to find that balance between, emphasizing the importance of whatever it is that you're doing, you putting forth your best effort, and then finding a level of success in that sustains you. I think. But what do I know? I'm just a big baby. Okay, let's get ready to close it out. I'm gonna do a couple little quick hits here on a few topics before we get out of here. So let me see where am I? Where am I? Let me go to my save stuff. So we had a twerking senator, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I am all about people doing whatever it is that makes them happy. I truly am. But Tierra Mack just need to stop twerking. Not because it ain't working. Well, it was just bad twerking. But yeah, like it was a campaign video. That she was like in a bathing suit on top of her head, shaking her ass. And if that's what she's into, good for her. If that's what appeals to her constituents, then have at it. If we're going to be people who are going to change, the paradigms around here, if we're going to change how we view politicians have fun, they drink, they use drugs, they date around, they do whatever it is the hell that they want to do in private, but like we're going to allow that to become public, and we're going to let the world know that it exists. I mean, if our former president gets to be a playboy publicly, how come she can't be a young twerker? You know, that's okay. I just don't want to see it because it didn't look good. Next, I saw this one post. Let's see. This era killed the value of friendships, relationships, morals, and loyalty. As much as I want to agree with that, I don't think it has. I think it's actually accentuated those values. I think that we have a society that is so fake. We have a society that's also fake, but also transparent, where people speak their minds because they have Twitter. I think we have a society where we are allowed to discuss certain topics that we would never discuss in an open forum. We get to find out who people truly are. We don't have all of these different, measures in place to ensure that we don't talk about this. Uh, Back in the day before cell phones, if you broke up with somebody and you moved 2 towns over, you don't see them again. But now you break up with somebody, you can see them on Instagram. Oh my God, you can FaceTime them so you can look at them. You know what I mean? So those decisions that you make to X those people out of your life and to continue moving forward with those who mean the best for you that you're involved with, I think this creates true clarity. It creates a lot of pain getting there, but I think it creates the true clarity that we could never get because there was so much that was bottled up inside of us that we never had to confront those issues. What we got next? The next time Lizzo shakes her ass for the net, same effing energy as Megan Thee Stallion, both beautiful and got ass for days. Nah, bro. I don't have to like Lizzo shaking her ass on the internet. You can't tell me what I like. You can't tell me what I'm attracted to. Okay. So I understand that we want to ensure that we are giving everyone an equal opportunity to be accepted. So that's why I'm not mad at Lizzo for posting her picture. I'm not even mad at this girl for defending Lizzo if she likes it, but we got to stop making comparisons. Um Sweeping comparisons, right? You can make a personal comparison, say, you know what? I think Lizzo's video was just as good as Meg's, and I like them both equally, or I like Lizzo's more, or I like Meg's more. Yeah, you can make that decision for yourself, but let me tell you what, Lizzo's video don't make me tinkle like Meg's did. So I don't have to give it that same energy because I didn't have the same energy for the video. Let me see. Macy Gray's in trouble. Macy Gray's in trouble, and this is what sucks about our society. Here we go.
As a woman, just because you go change your parts doesn't make you a woman.
Right.
Sorry.
You feel that?
I know that for a fact. And everybody.
So Macy Gray gave her stance on the trans community. She's not pro-trans. She said just because you change your parts, it doesn't make you a woman. And as a woman, I know that. Back to Chelsea Handler. You don't get to be the gatekeeper of the thoughts of women because women think differently from one another. Because that's society. That's what happens when you have diversity of thought. And that's why we have conversations. Thank God Macy Gray was given a platform to put this out here so that now people can, for one, figure out where they stand on Macy Gray. They can hear that, have conversations amongst those in their circles, and they can discuss what they think womanhood is. And those who may not agree with that can respond to it. And maybe society accepts a different standard of what womanhood is, or someone is educated on what womanhood is to them or to someone else. You know, I'm not going to tell a woman what a woman is, but I know the type of women I like. I know the type of women that I don't like. And there are some women who I'm attracted to and some that I'm not. And no one's going to tell me that I'm wrong for what I like. As long as I'm not mistreating others, it doesn't matter. That's what equality is about. You can always treat people better because of your personal preference, but you don't treat people lesser than because they're not your preference. Nah, you just treat them fairly, treat them nice. Got anything else? Yeah, Creflo has some good words.
Go where every book, every tape, and every video I ever did on the subject of tithing, unless it lines up with this. I've done some corrective teaching in the last 10 years, but not to the degree of what we're getting ready to do now. So why is this important? Because religion is sustained by two factors: fear and guilt. And if it's one subject that the church has used for a long time to keep people in fear and guilt, it is in that subject of tithing. And it has to be corrected, and it's got to be corrected now. I may lose some friends, preachers may not ever invite me no more, but I think I've already been through that, so it doesn't matter.
You know what? I really like this, and I'm probably gonna pull it out as a bigger topic in the coming weeks. But I told y'all, God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. The church has, and Creflo Dollar's just backing that up. And the church got to stop scaring people off, mistreating people just because of money. What else we got? This is probably the dumbest post I've read in 2022. Friend favoritism is definitely real. That's why I stay by myself. Hey, let that hurt go, sis. No relationship is 50%, 50-50. There's layers, there's levels. But as long as it works for you and it works for the other person, that's what truly matters. Like, stop, like, yes, I know some of my friends like other people more than they like me. And I like some of my other friends more than I like some of my other friends. That's okay. Ain't nobody keeping score around here. Is there respect? Is there support? Yeah. All right, then. We good. Let's see. Let's see. You know, it's really tragic what happened in Akron with Jalen Walker getting shot 60 times by 8 cops, 80 to 90 shots fired at him. He did not have a weapon on his person when that happened. I'm going to wait for details before I do my full pod on this one. But that many shots for somebody who wasn't shooting, that's not the answer. That ain't right. And then lastly, the creative friends apologized for the lack of racial diversity on the show and pledged $4 million to support African American studies. Okay, where is that $4 million going? What are those studies and who's receiving it? Okay, that's one part of it. And don't apologize for doing something that you meant to do. You were making a show that was reflective of white society, and that's what sold, and that's what you wanted to do. That's the story you wanted to tell. That's fine. You can admit that, hey, my show was absent of other nuances of culture. You know, some say she should apologize to Living Single. I didn't watch either show to be able to talk about it. But guess what? Jamie Foxx didn't have like a bunch of white people in this show. The Martin Lawrence show Martin didn't have a bunch of white people in the show. Fresh Prince had a balance ish. The Cosby Show had a balance ish, but not really. These were shows centered around society. Seinfeld didn't have a bunch of black people in it. It's okay. You understand what I mean? Like, these were shows that were centered around these people's lives, and the people who watch these shows could actually identify with those shows. That's what made these shows great shows, because a lot of black people spent their life and their time around a bunch of black people. Same with white people. They hung out with their white friends. They dated white people. It's okay. It is okay to not. It's okay to portray a non-racially inclusive society if that's what you're aiming to do. If you're trying to sell something to a large group of people, you want to make it as relatable as possible. And the society that we lived in then, those shows reflected the society of the people who watched them. You know what I mean? Like, do we expect BET to come out and say, you know, black entertainment television, we should have competed for the rights to Seinfeld and Friends and Frasier and Third Rock and name that other show? No, because that's not the demographic that you're appealing to. So if you feel bad about not appealing to the black demographic, write a new show. Put Friends for people who wanted Friends. And they watched it. And they continue to watch it. And it streams, and you make millions and millions of dollars off of it. And that's okay. But as we close, boundaries create clarity. When you take water, it takes the form of whatever you put it in, right? So if you want to drink some water, you pour it in a glass. If you want to clean up a stain, you pour it on the floor. But you can't drink water if you pour it on the floor because now it's expanded and it's no longer in the frame. It's no longer bounded in a way in which you can use it for your desired intent. And that's why boundaries create clarity, because if you see water on the floor, you understand that somebody spilled something or they're cleaning something. If you see water in a glass, you understand that's there to drink. And we're getting further away from creating boundaries because we want to include everyone's thoughts and opinions and their feelings into what we accept as a society. Now, I will never, ever, ever stand against people having the opportunity to voice those thoughts and opinions. But we have to create boundaries that tell us, hey, we've proven that this is wrong and this is dumb. So we're not going to do this. And that helps our society progress. We have laws, we have rules, we have customs, we have courtesies. Why? Because that brings people on the same page so that we're not operating in chaos. Boundaries create clarity. And as we continue to lift boundaries, we have less and less clarity. When a DA does not have to prosecute a crime, that is a crime on the books, that creates confusion. When a state school system is voting on whether to call slavery or involuntary relocation, that creates confusion, not clarity. When you have people misusing words to create their own definition, and then we have to accept their definition without knowing where their definition comes from, that creates confusion, not clarity. So oftentimes people think boundaries are discriminators. Boundaries create oppression, but no, boundaries create clarity. When you place your boundaries, I know exactly where you stand. I know exactly who you are, and I know exactly how to deal with you. So America, I'm gonna be like Bernie Mac, America. We need boundaries because we need clarity. And if we keep up just lifting all these boundaries and not just adjusting the boundaries, we're going to have confusion, and too much confusion turns into chaos and not cohesion. Big baby out.
We ballin' big